Hey, welcome to the podcast, Alex. Long time.
Man, it's been too long. How you been?
Been pretty good.
Awesome,
Uh,
awesome, awesome.
just a quick question, and then we'll go back to our conversation. To introduce you to the audience, who do you say you are?
Well, who am I? I am Alex Harrison. I'm first just a believer in God or Christ, and then after that, I'm a husband, dad. Then after all of that, I'm uh I'm a businessman. Got a small business. I work full time as a um, business intelligence analyst. So I'm, and then I'm also a student working on my accounting degree. So I'm all of that. I'm all of that. And yeah. And then just in addition to all that, just a single parent, a
Mm,
product of a single parent. I'm not a single parent now, but
yeah,
just a product of a single parent, single mom who just put her heart and soul into blessing me and my sister and my little brother to be here. So that's
gotcha.
who I am.
I was gonna say a lot's happened since we last talked because just moving through life, trying to figure out how would you say just life after college, kind of
Hmm.
settling into the late 20s, early
Yeah,
30s, and it's like okay, like this is what adulting is like.
exactly.
Put on your big boy pants and it's like okay, kind of figure it out, like you catching your breath, like,
Yeah,
and then it's like,
it's
oh, okay, I
it
can
can
do
be
this.
tough. It can be tough at times, but then also it's just like, okay. Like sometimes I just feel like you said, just becoming an adult, you have to realize that, oh, I'm a man now. I can make my own decisions. I have to live with these decisions, and whether I was right about it or wrong about it, I made that decision and I live with the consequences of it. That's just a journey. That's a side, maybe a side conversation, but it's just
What
something I
what's
had to learn growing up.
right? Well, I mean, let's. I guess we could go there now and
Okay.
maybe not delay. But I guess what's that been like for you? Like owning decisions.
Yeah, that's been that to me is just a part of adulthood. Just I can't blame my mom for how we were raised or my dad for, just not being there or whatever. Not all the time. He was there a little bit, but not all the time. And so it's like you have to come to age and just be like, it's me now. My decisions now. It's not what they did for me or what they did against me, so to speak, but it's just my decisions now. What am I gonna do to make my situation better? How have I contributed to me being in whatever situation I may be struggling in? Like, what decisions did I make that got me here? It's like I have to stop blaming. You know what I'm saying? Like you get to that point where it's like, gosh, I can't keep blaming people for everything. Like, oh man, you made me act this way. It's like, no, you chose to act that way, and now this is what you're having to live with. So, and I'm not saying like I'm out here doing hard time or anything like that, but it's just that you sometimes you might look around and be like, dog, I thought I'd be further along, or dog, I thought my journey would be further along, but it's just like,
Mhm.
okay, you have to come to that realization, like I am where I am, and now it's time for me to just to put in the work to get to where I want to get to. So
Mm.
yeah,
That's a great.
so
That's a great realization. I guess I'm curious. How did you arrive at that? Like, how did you learn to make peace with that? Because that's what I've been doing recently,
yeah,
and it's like um I talked with a few people this past week and just kind of looking at triggers, so to speak, as
yes,
it's kind of like the the word of the day.
hmm,
Like people say, I'm triggered. And then like
yeah,
my buddy Theo kind of helped me realize it's like, yeah, when people talk about gun safety, it's like when you're trained to utilize a weapon, like you're always taught to never have your finger on the trigger unless you intend
mm,
to do
to use
something.
it,
Right.
yeah,
So it's like the thing that although there might be triggers, like there are
mhm,
safeties that you can put on the trigger. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like practicing that
yeah,
self-awareness, practicing that like not just because self-awareness, like on the face of it, the first time I heard it, it was like, okay, yeah, be self-aware. It's like I'm ticked
Yeah.
off right now. So what? But like taking it to another level, it's like, okay, maybe I'm mad. Like, what is it that I'm mad about? And then understanding that like anger at times can just be like a surface condition
Right.
or like a
Right.
surface issue where it's like
Emotion. Yeah.
it doesn't get to the iceberg that's underneath. It's like, do you feel disrespected? Do you feel like you can't express yourself? Do you feel scared? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel like so many other feelings? But like as you learn to acknowledge those things and kind of work your way through it, either in the moment where you can't get away from the situation or like actually just be like, okay, like, yeah, this is a bad situation.
Yeah.
And deciding that like I don't have to always blame somebody. I don't always have to like throw a fit and just be like, oh, they did this to me, they did this to me, they did
Yeah.
this to me. It's like, well, they isn't gonna help me out. Like if they
Yeah.
did this to me, they're not gonna go out of
Oh
their
yeah.
way to
Let me go.
come.
Yeah. To
Right.
get
They
you out of that.
right. But it's like
Yeah.
if you recognize that, okay, like the thing I fear most is in the opposite direction of the thing I want, I can run away from my fear, but run towards something I can actually embrace.
Yeah.
And just can you speak a little bit to that, how you were able to do that for yourself?
Yeah.
Because for me, I did it through kind of coaching, counseling, just being able to speak to someone one on one.
Yeah. I guess I'm a thinker. So it's just like just constant reflecting on like decision after decision and just like really like because I've been married now. It'll be next Sunday, it'll be 8 years. And so really it just came to a point where just like I can't keep blaming my wife for everything. Like I love her. She's great, everything. But it's like I can't keep every time something's like if we're just not clicking that day, I can't just be like, the world, I'm mad at the world because of that. And it's just like that you've allowed that person to have like power over you type thing. And so like and so I guess because you asked like what kind of got me to just that, like you sat down one day, or I sat down one day and I was just like, man, we're just not clicking. And I just like, gosh, like how do I at first it's like, you need to change, like you want to throw it at her, you need to change, you need to, and then it's just like, I'm like, no, I mean, at the end of the day, a person's going to be that person and you can want them to grow or you can
Yeah.
want them to change or whatever in certain ways. But
Mhm.
at the same time, it's like, that's the stuff that you kind of love about them. So
Mhm.
it's like, do I really want them to change or is it just me today? Like I'm hyped, like you said, like
Yeah.
I'm upset about something, but it's not really her.
Mhm.
I'm upset because 4 projects due at work and I only got 1 week to finish it all, like, and
Right.
you're like, they put all this stuff on me at the last minute. And then you kind of bring in your work home with you. So you're having to learn how to compartmentalize, like, okay, leave the job here kind of, and then make sure you, and
Yeah.
so I just, like I said, constant reflection. I just, I feel like, cause I just asked him, it's like at age like 27, and this is when it kind of happened for me when it clicked,
Mhm.
like 27, 28. And then I start to do some research. It's like, yeah, parts of your brain completely develop around that age.
Yeah.
Particularly like I think it's your decision making and something like that. So it's just like you're finally, like we talked about becoming a man, you're actually finally fully grown at that age. And
Mhm.
so I just started thinking about that thing. I was like, okay, so if I'm fully grown, I have to live with my grown man decisions. So
Mhm.
it's just all those different nuances just coming together and I'm just sitting down thinking and reading my word and at first you kind of like, no, you see right here, this is what you should be doing, and
Right.
it's just like, no, you have to stop finding others in the word, you have to find yourself in there and start listening to, I constantly listen to like motivational stuff.
Mhm.
And so, but around that time, it was like some things going on in life. And I was just like, I would listen to it, but it wasn't like clicking with me.
Mhm.
But then when I finally decided to make that jump, okay, like everything's on me. Everything that's going on with me is on me. I'm not going to put it on my wife. I'm not going to put it on my daughter was a baby at the time. I'm not going to put it on my daughter. I'm not going to put it on, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to put it on how this person wronged me, or how this person did me, or how this happened, or how this, it's just because everything could be overwhelming. But I was just like, I'm gonna put it on me in terms of just like, I'm gonna control how I feel today. I'm gonna
Right.
control how I see today. And if I'm not saying like everything was like cake and ice cream after that,
Right.
but I just learned to know when to, know when not to. Like just started discerning my situation. Like, okay, should I say this?
Mhm.
Like what's going to cause a greater rift? And I'm not just talking with my marriage, I'm just talking about with friends. Or should I say this?
Mhm.
Like sometimes keeping it real is not the best thing to do. Sometimes that person really needs you just to be there to comfort them,
Yeah.
not necessarily like, oh man, you just made the worst decision of your life. Like what in the world? It's like,
Right.
no, that person, they
It's
know
like
that.
right. It's like
They
when
know
keeping it wrong, when keeping it real goes wrong.
goes wrong. Exactly. So it's like, no, they know that. So just, I mean, like, be a good friend, be there for them. And then when they're ready to hear the truth, you tell them the truth. And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, it was just all that stuff, man. Just
Yeah.
all that stuff. My brain's finally developing. I'm realizing, looking around, like, man, I wanted to be. And I guess the riff with like, I guess not a riff, but it's kind of like you can, because I'm a motivational type person. I like to motivate and inspire.
Mhm.
So it's like you inspiring everyone else, but you look at your own life and it's like, wait a minute, have I been applying what I've been telling? Like, have I been, staying on top of my finances? Have I been trying to have better, like, open communications, like
Mhm.
all that, or am I bottled up inside, like not letting anybody in, that type of stuff? So just unpacking all that stuff. I know it's a lot.
Yeah.
I might be rambling a little bit, but
No,
it's
no,
just,
you're right on it because it's
yeah,
like to your point, it's I guess the difference from making that decision and kind of realizing that like, okay, I do have control over this because I put it on me. But
yeah,
it's like you don't let yourself off the hook as easily, but at the
mhm,
same time, you're not gonna just suffocate yourself and just be like, okay, like I'm just gonna go drown in all these problems and just
yeah,
be like, ah. No, it's
yeah,
like you set up those boundaries to be like, okay, this is where work, like you set the deadlines for work, or you set the boundary to be like work stays at work,
absolutely.
home is at home. And it's
Mhm.
like if you get to spend the time, sometimes you don't need to be Mr. Fix It because a lot of times that's where we get our value from. It's like, what can
Yeah,
I do to fix? And it's like, no, maybe you just you just
yeah,
go chill in the man cave, or you just do nothing.
yeah,
Just chill for a minute. And like now when issues come up or things like that, it's like, okay, you can see it differently and you're just able to appreciate it for that
yeah.
matter. But I guess like I was saying earlier, I've got the one and only shirt that I've got for the podcast, but you helped me with that having your t-shirt company. And for that, I say thank you. And I guess
Yeah,
I was talking to you before and I was like, maybe I'll finally get around to setting up a store and just making like a bulk order
mhm.
with, I'll talk to you about it after.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the like, are you still doing that? Because like you mentioned, having the small business, doing
Mhm.
YouTube, doing
Yeah,
like going
I
into accounting now, like at least getting that
man,
degree while doing the full time. It's like, man, you're staying
yeah.
busy.
That is, yeah, that's a statement that is true. But yeah, so it's funny, like, and my wife will ask me all the time about this. Cause I'm like, man, I'm getting out of this industry, man. I'm getting out of just a t-shirt making industry. I'm getting out, but yet I'm buying like brand new equipment for it. And I'm doing research all the time on how to get better. And so she's like, I thought you were gonna get out of it. I'm like, I'm going to. But I mean, I love it. Like I really do enjoy it. I like you saying, just being able to represent somebody's company, or being able to make that little kid just elated on their birthday, because it's just like, oh man, I got birthday shirts. So
Mhm.
it's just, I love seeing that. I love people, writing back, I love your customer service, or I love how you were able to, do this. I'm sorry it was short notice, and I'm sorry. And so it brings me a lot of joy, I guess, because I'm good at it. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? And that's something that you kind of struggle to say that you're good at something, because it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, you like, you thinking high of yourself. It's like, Yeah, but not in a
It's
bad
like,
way. I mean,
I think I should think high of myself. It's like
yeah.
sometimes the humbleness or meekness, so to speak, coming from that like Christian background
Hmm.
gets confused, where it's like, just because you're humble, it doesn't mean that you need to bury your talents. Because it's like
Absolutely.
the first time I ever heard that story, I was like, wait, but I thought that's what you're supposed to do. Like,
Yeah.
what did he do wrong? He just went and he saved it for the guy. He didn't want to mess it up. But it's like,
Yeah.
no, that's not the moral of the story. It's like you don't elevate anything or nonetheless yourself by burying the talents that you have, whether it's
Yeah.
like the monetary or like the physical gifts that you've been given. You don't
Yeah.
need to like throw it in
Right.
somebody's face, but like hiding under
Yes.
your bed or just like
Mhm.
hiding under a rock, be like, don't look at me, don't look at me. It's like that's not doing a lot for anybody.
Bro, at first when you said the story, I was like, what is he talking? I was like, oh, it just hit me. I was like, oh my goodness, yes. So yeah, that's one of my favorite stories too, where the guy with the talent and he hides and he's like, I thought you were gonna, he's like, I know you were a bad guy. I was like, yeah, but why didn't you just put it in the market or whatever? But yeah, man, you're absolutely right. Like so seeing that I'm good at it, people enjoy like, oh yeah, I love your shirt, I love it. And so I'm still rocking with it.
Mhm.
And I have like I have like orders coming in all the time. So I still enjoy it. And just having to manage that and I'm going back to something you said, I'm trying to think about it. It's like when you were like kind of like hiding your talents or because
Mhm.
I've done that in my professional career
Right.
where it's just like I had an old manager. She was like, no, you have to tell people what you're doing. Like you have to tell people you did this on
Mhm.
this project or they're going to forget that you did that. And
Yeah.
so like just I guess I'm transitioning here, but
No,
going
you're
to what
fine.
I do like on my full time, because
Mhm.
part-time is the t-shirt and I love it.
Yeah.
What I do in my full time, I'm now a business intelligence analyst,
Mhm.
which is pretty much basically just a financial analyst.
Mm.
But I just recently got on this job like 6 months ago. Before
Yeah.
that, I was a software engineer,
Right.
which
Right.
some days I liked it, some days I didn't. But the main reason I transitioned from it is because I was just like, I don't feel valuable. Like, I don't
Yep.
feel like you value me as a contributor on this team. And
Mhm.
so, because I was like looking around and I'm like, not that title is everything, but title
Mhm.
is pay, in that
Right.
industry, like if you got this title, you're going to be paying, you're getting
Right.
paid
Right.
more. So I was just looking around. I'm like looking at all the people on my team and they were senior
Mhm.
people in terms of like, they've been there, 15 plus years, 20, some of them 20 plus years. But I was just looking at like a brand new person who had just joined started our team. And I looked
Mhm.
at what his was and I'm like, wait, he just got on the team and his title's higher than mine. So
Mhm.
it kind of was like, and so, and I'm a believer in God, believer in Christ. So it was just like one day I was like, man, I gotta find a new gig, as they
Yeah.
say. And I looked within our same company, looked
Mhm.
within those available positions, and I saw that business intelligence. I was like, man, I'm not even really qualified for this,
Mhm.
but it's just weird. I was kind of already in a class around that for my
Mhm.
accounting degree, so it was weird. But anyway, I was like, I'm gonna go for it, and then I'm gonna just put that I'm getting my accounting degree, and I'm gonna talk about this class like in the summary part. So
Mhm.
I did that. Guy like wrote me then. I want to say within the hour he wrote me. He was like, "Oh yeah, we want to set up an interview." So I'm like, "Whoa!" So I'm like, "Whoa!" So within like 2 to 3 weeks, I had that job, man. So I transferred from my old position to this new position. I've loved it every day. Like they you're valued. I'm valued. I mean, and
Yeah.
it's like every little thing they're just like, oh man, that's great, that's great. And like, can you do it? Maybe this time do it like this, maybe. But it's just like, man, you found a place where you feel valued, you're gonna work harder.
Yeah.
Like I'm driving down the road thinking about solutions like, okay, I'm working on this problem at work. I could do X, Y, Z. It's like, dude, focus on the road. But yeah, man, I'm so just burying that talent in terms of like I did this. It kind of got me in that spot where they kind of like forget that you did stuff
Right.
underappreciate you. And then that's when I was like, man, it's time for me to move on. So
Yeah. I think that's awesome. I'm glad you did that. And similar for me, made the transition to the new job where I'm at and just feeling valued again. And
mhm,
just that the story about the talent story, I don't think I really understood it. What is it? I basically grew up in church being a preacher's kid, and like you hear stories, you do morning devotional,
mhm,
this and that. And it's like once you do something like over and over and over, rinse and repeat, it's almost like you're kind of like the student athletes or like the kids that they play sports all
mhm.
throughout elementary and like at the end of it, they're just burnt out because
Burnt
it's like
out. Yeah.
you forget why you do it. But I don't think I understood the meaning of that story within like until the last year or two. And that was like
Wow.
maybe 10 to 20 years. Like I didn't
Right.
know what that story meant. And it's
Mhm,
so much of that like being able to admit you don't know something without being made to feel stupid.
mhm,
Like just just to put it simply,
mhm.
because it's like to be to claim that you're a follower of Christ or like the child of the most high or
Mhm.
whatever great affirmation you can say, but not to feel comfortable enough to admit your weaknesses or shortcomings or the things you don't understand. It's like, okay, there's a, I want to say dichotomy, but I don't know if that's just a popular word that's floating in
Yeah.
my head. But it's like there's just that discrepancy where it's like I'm supposed to feel high and lifted up,
Mhm.
or maybe you're supposed to lift God.
Yeah, but I
God
know
is
what you mean.
supposed to be high and lifted up, but it's
Yeah.
like at times you want to be like bigger than life, so to speak. But a lot of times you feel like you're kind of down in the dumps.
Mhm.
And like understanding and appreciating that power that's outside of yourself when you're outside, when you're down in the dumps and you're not feeling your best, like being able to turn that switch or to kind of be like give thanks or to pray to be like,
Mhm.
okay, like when things aren't going my way, I can give thanks. When things are going my way, I can
Right.
give thanks and
Yeah.
not losing sight of like, okay, things are great. I'm going to be agnostic
That
today just because
that's
it's not convenient. I'm going to college.
that's it.
I'm so smart. Like,
Mhm.
why do I even believe in God? It's
Yeah.
like, but then it's
That
like when you get lost in just like the religion of the thing and people are like, oh, I'm not spiritual. I'm not
mhm.
religious. I'm spiritual, or like whatever
That
the flavor of the day is. And
mhm.
it's like nothing against whoever
Be
says it. I'm speaking for myself personally as to like
mhm.
here is here's either what I've done or what I'm understanding about the experience that I've had. And what do they say? Like not to throw shots is like no shade or
Mhm.
I, I don't even need to worry about that because it's like I'm less concerned about what somebody is doing or isn't doing. Like I
Yeah.
try my best to celebrate other people through this platform, but
Mhm.
to really self-reflect and like you said, like being able to do that thinking. It's like a
That's
lot of
it.
time it's like, well, but I mean for you when you said it the way you said it, I was like, man, it's good to hear that because it's for me a lot of the thinking that I was doing was trying to justify where I was at, figuring
Mhm.
out like, okay, I'm not in the right place. What am I getting wrong? What am I getting wrong? And it's like
Right.
just trying to keep thinking I have to have the answer. Like this isn't right. I'm messing up. Like I'm
No.
gonna fail the test of life.
Oh
I'm not
yeah.
gonna do. I'm not me. And it's like, yeah, it can be you, but like you can't do everything by yourself. But it's like
Mhm.
you have the right to have confidence and to be competent in what you're doing and like putting your name on something and be like, I
Yeah.
did this without
Mhm.
always like, you don't need to be a canary or, or running around and being like, hey, look what I did. Look what I did. Look,
Absolutely.
it's like, okay, like don't overcorrect to that. But like if you're sending an email to say like, hey, this is my assignments for today and you're sending it to those people, it's like, yeah, if you worked on it, put
Yeah.
your name on it. If
Yeah.
there's a mistake, it's like just as much as you wanted that validation, just
Own
if
up.
there's a critique, own up to the
Mhm.
critique and be like, hey, I didn't die.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
left my house went, did my work. It either worked out or it didn't work out. I came
Absolutely.
back. I woke up again. It's like,
Life is good.
life is
Yeah.
good.
No, yeah, man, like kind of, I don't know, like kind of going, yeah, that was just something I had to grow in, like seriously, because I was always, like you said, just that humbleness versus like knowing who you are in Christ versus getting recognition. It's like, and it's just all a part of growth. It's all a part of like, just like we said, talked about becoming a man or a woman. Like, not saying I don't want to be like, because we're both guys, like just becoming a
Well,
man,
I
but
mean,
becoming an adult.
right, right. I think
Yeah,
to your point, it's like, let's just speak to our experience. That whoever
yeah,
can gain something from it,
yeah,
it's like you can gain something from it and apply
yeah,
yourself to it,
yeah.
because it gets tiring trying to like
Appease
appease
everybody.
everybody. It's
Yes.
like
Yeah.
it's just mentally exhausting. So it's
Yeah.
like, no offense is intended, but
Yeah.
just if you're offended, like, sorry,
Apologies.
I
Let's keep
can't.
going.
Yeah, it's like, let's just keep moving. If
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I can't really be sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Because this is like you said, it's your own personal life at the end of the day. So, and it's just like how you were saying, like, when you were talking about on the bad days, we want to be Christian. You know what I'm saying? But on the good days, it's like, who is Christ? So it's like, oh, wait a minute. What? On the like when everything's on the up and up, it's like, oh, I'm no, I don't need church, I don't need God, I don't need anything. I do this on my own. Like
Yeah,
but then on the bad days, it's like, God help me, I need help. And it's just
yeah.
like, but like you said, just I
And
don't I
I'm
don't
not
subscribe to that.
right. I'm not trying to fire shots, but it's like, for me, being honest, it's like I haven't been to a church consistently since college. Like, maybe
Yeah.
outside of college, like I've
Hmm.
been for a year to a
Right.
church that was local, but like
Mhm.
part of it was like I got tired of the environment in some ways, but then on the other part, I'm like, I might be I might be getting too much into my head and thinking I'm just better. But it's
Mm.
like I saw like a letter in my mailbox this morning for an invitation from a church, and I was like, you know, let me just try to go.
Yeah.
And something my mom reminded me of, it's like, regardless of what I might think of the people there and what they know or don't know, what they do or don't do, it's like, let me go for the experience and just be a part of the body. If it's
Yeah.
maybe
That.
this, just this one time this month, let me,
Yeah.
I was like, I saw it, I was like, okay, we've got the interview today at this time. They have a morning session and the other. I was like, I'm gonna go. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go without any judgment or without
Hmm.
any expectations. To just go. I'm not gonna go commit into something like I don't want to join
Yeah.
another group,
Hmm.
I want to be be at peace with myself and at peace with my decisions.
So I'm a huge believer in going to church. Like I don't it's and I kind of like we touched on it earlier when I was talking about around that 27 age, right? 26, 27. That's why it was kind of like a little bit of church, like to play this part in that too. Cause just like, wait a minute, this guy tells me everything to do. Like, so just and I know you said you're a preacher's kid, so it's just like this guy tells me everything to do. Like, but then I had to come to myself and like I hear what he's saying, but I don't have to and this is gonna sound bad, but I'm gonna say it. I don't
Yeah,
have to apply every single nuance of what he says to my life
yeah,
because we're not living the same lives. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Like, so
right. That
I'm,
part.
like, so I'm having to keep it scripture. I'm having to rightly divide the word of truth for myself.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? For me. And so if he says, in my house, we do XYZ, well, I'm not in your house. I'm in my
right,
house.
right,
So
right.
we'll do ABC. So like having to find myself in that point. And at first it's kind of like, I'm a bad guy. Like, so I'm like dealing with all this stuff at 27. I'm like dealing with all this stuff. Like, oh my God, like, am I an unbeliever or am I not Christian? It's like, no, you're good. Just, it was kind of like the Lord kind of walked me through it too. So I don't know how far we were going to go into, that
Well,
in the, conversation.
mean,
So that's why I was like, that's why
I
I was
mean,
like, let me. So
we can just keep going down that way, because it's like
yeah,
I don't try to like put anything out ahead of time. Like in reaching out, it's like, hey, let's catch up and just talk. And
okay.
it's like I think the the realness of the conversation is
Mhm.
just that, like being able to express. And of course I'll let you see this before and be like, oh no, 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 but it's
Don't put that
something,
out.
something
Yeah.
funny about that, and even having apprehensions about sharing the realness of like personal life.
Mhm.
I was talking with a friend and mentor of mine. Like one thing that he said to me, and I immediately it just took me off base. He was like, I don't care like what you feel about it. It's like it's
Ooh,
more
yeah.
important just speaking to the spirit of like um the healing and the growth that's needed. It's better that you deal with what you need to deal with. And I'm like, the reason it took me aback was because I was just like, it's easy to say deal with this, and then the backlash is going to be what the backlash is, because it's like the backlash is real for a lot of things when people have either been out of pocket. But even thinking to an interview with Kevin Hart, I was watching with him on the Pivot, and they were kind of talking about
Mhm.
this how do you deal with the scrutiny and the this and the that, and he's like, I don't worry about that. Like, so long as what's here on my side is good,
Mhm.
so long as my people are good, all of that is fake. Because
Yeah.
it's like so many people will say things online to you that they wouldn't tell you to
Not
your
to
face.
your face.
And
Yeah.
even if like somebody's going off in your face and just going like off the handles, like more times than not, if you think about it, they've got a lot of stuff going on personally that has absolutely nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
So it goes back
Yep.
again to that, like being able to address what you have going on and understanding that like it's up to you. Like you have the ability to figure it out or work through it, but like you have to be willing to take that ownership and be like, oh, I can do something about this. It's like I can't just point to the world and be like, it's the world's fault. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, there is granted, like there is evil. Like there is
Absolutely.
truly evil. There are
Yeah.
people that walk around with malice. So it's like you've got to be vigilant in that sense of not just being open to everything. So like even
Yeah.
with me going to like a church service, so to speak, is like I just want to go be around people. Like, okay, if I go here and I meet good quality people,
Mhm.
cool. Like
Yeah.
I don't have to be so far open to where it's like, okay, I immediately bond, make friendships, make relationships or something like that. But it's like that's outside of college, outside of school, like where you get to know people, where you get to
Yeah.
have those friends groups. So it's like going to things like church, going to
Mhm.
things like that's why people have communities. Like that's why
Yeah.
people
That's
do
what I was
Zoom
just
calls.
thinking.
It's like
Yeah. Community.
you need some form of community as a human
Yeah.
to be able to function. And it's like
Yeah.
if you're constantly looking at a group or you're looking at um something to just be like, oh, that's the devil over there. It's like, okay, if something's terrible, like
Yeah.
if it has something you need, try to create an alternative or like seek out your need, and don't just be cursing this thing,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
drinking the poison of like, oh, I hate them, I hate them, I hate them. And it's like, you're hurting yourself. They're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's a valid thing because like I was saying, I really believe in church. I believe people should go to church because of the, like you said, the community. And I feel
mm,
like that community really holds you accountable. Like that's real huge to me. Like I feel
yeah,
like church, if you aren't at, not saying that because you're saying you're just going to church and maybe not going to join it, but if you join
yeah.
that church,
Mhm.
people are going to be like, bro, why weren't you at service? You ain't been in service all month. Like, so I feel
Right.
like that accountability is just like, because once you come to service, you're
Yeah,
going to hear the word, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like it's going to, and so it's just like, I feel like you're going to get some type of encouragement or some type of something. And so
yeah,
like, I'm real big on that. But at the same time, like you said, when you go to a service, you you can go however you want to go because come
mhm,
as you are, absolutely. But as just me and you talking, like when you go to service, like you can't change the people. Like, you're not leadership.
Mhm.
That, and we're talking about me at that age, 27.
Yeah.
And you remember a buddy from mine, who my roommate from college, Nick. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you remember Nick? So
Yeah.
he was just like, dude, he was talking about like his church or whatever, but that's his story. But
Mhm.
he was like, dude, I can't change them. I'm not leadership. If I try and
Mhm.
change them, then that's bad on me. And
Yeah.
that hit me like a man, that hit me so hard. I was like, whoa, because at my own church, and I've been at my church since I was 6, I'm still
Mhm.
there. But at that age, I was just like, man, this need to change, man. You need to let people do this. You need to let. So I'm trying to do all of this, and you having your side conversations with your,
Yeah.
people who also might have similar thoughts to you or whatever. And
Mhm.
so he was like, I'm not. So for him, when he said that, and he didn't know anything about what I was going through,
Mhm.
like mentally, like that. But he
Right.
was like, I'm not leadership. I can't change them. I can go to another church,
Mhm.
what I'm saying, that better fits me, but I can't change this church in the
Yeah.
ways that you might be. Man, it hit me so hard. I was like, yeah, otherwise you're being what, disruptive, or you're being like sowing
Yeah.
discord almost, like, so it's like, oh my God, like I don't want to be that guy.
Right. Right.
So that was all a part of that maturation, or yeah,
Yeah.
that was all a part of that journey that I was going through. I was just like, oh, okay. So if I can't change anything because I'm not in leadership,
Mhm.
then it's something that we say in our church. It's a whole old church thing, but they say eat the meat, leave the bone type
Mhm.
thing. So it's like
Yeah.
eat what applies best for you. And then the things that don't apply to you, it was another preacher. Man, I've been in church all my life. So it was another preacher. I heard him say this. He was like, everything that comes across the pulpit, you don't have to necessarily receive it,
Yeah.
but you also don't have to be like, no, that's the devil. Like, you don't have to cast it down.
Right.
Some stuff
Right.
you can just leave it in the air. Like, Lord, I'm not sure about that at all. Like, it's
Mhm.
good. I think it sounds right.
Yeah.
Doesn't really like connect well with me at the moment. But I'll
Right.
leave it in the air. And then, man, when life goes on, some of that stuff that you left up in the air, it's like, oh man, this stuff is starting to connect now. So it's like, oh dog, like, you were right. Because you gotta think, like, because I know you've been in church. If you were a preacher kid, I know you've been in church probably your whole life.
Yeah.
Like, some stuff that you hear at 12 just doesn't sit the same when you hear it at 22.
Yeah.
So like that stuff you left up in the air at 12, once you like think about that stuff again at 22, you're like, oh man, this is gold, bro. Like, this really fits. So
Yeah.
it's just me going through all of those different emotions. And
Yeah.
oh, bro, it was exhausting at times, because it's just like, because like you said, that inner thought,
Mhm.
like, man, you just so. But I'm here where I am today. I'm, like I said, I'm still at that church.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying like every Sunday I'm like, oh yeah, 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 I agree with everything he says. But a lot of stuff I'm starting to, now that I'm over, like I've made that 30 jump, I'm
Yeah.
32 now. So some of that stuff I'm like, you're right. And then
Yeah.
also, just one more quick realization that hit me.
Mhm.
Just because you weren't going through it, don't mean everybody in the church ain't going through it.
Yeah.
Because it was just like some stuff I'm like, why he keep preaching about the same stuff? Like, especially growing up, I'm like, why ain't nobody doing that in here?
Right.
And then the older you get, you like, oh, they were. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, all that stuff. And I'm at the where I'm at in life, man. I'm just happy to be alive, and I'm happy to be growing, bro. Just
Yeah.
happy to be growing. So
Yeah. Man, that just the joy and growth is something
mhm.
else, because it's like, I guess you grow through pain, you grow through uh yeah, you go through pain and
You grow a
struggle,
lot.
but
You grow a
it's
lot
like,
through that.
but like understanding that it's growth really teaches you what it is that you should be getting as a result. And for me, I think I I remember like first 2 years out of college was I think I even did it in college, like just visiting different churches and trying
Mhm.
to understand like why are there so many? Because especially here in the South, and like we're known as the Bible Belt, you have a
Mhm.
church on every other block. And
Yeah.
like okay, this church believes in this and this church believes in that. That was part of the reason for me of like not attending as much, and
Hmm.
especially when it got around election time. I think it might have been 2016 or around
Yeah,
that time. And
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
I wasn't really following the elections or anything, but the thing that
yeah,
became annoying or just became like toxic, so to speak, to where I was like, what am I even doing? It's like when people started to bring political issues, and then
yeah.
when like pastors
Hmm.
would start using it as like their, hey, these are my views, and every people were out there like hollering, they're like, yeah, that's my guy. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't think this
yeah.
is church. I think you
Hmm.
guys are turning this into something
A
else. And it's
rally.
like, yeah, right.
Right.
It's like it quickly turned into a rally. Like I think I went to a popular church in Louisiana. I think it's at Kenneth Copeland, or I forget who has a big church but there. But like even growing up as a preacher's kid, and like you're just engulfed in it. But then like you do a couple YouTube searches, you do watch a couple of documentaries, and it's like, oh, like all the televangelists from the 80s, like here's
Oh
how
yeah,
they're tricking people. Here's how you
yeah.
got somebody walking around with earpieces and stuff like that. And it's like
Mm.
trying to separate
The
those
show.
actions, yeah,
Yeah.
trying to separate the show and actually have like, okay, what is my faith? And in recent years, I've listened to this psychologist Jordan B. Peterson, and seeing him like go through biblical stories from a psychological perspective and try to explain like this is why we have these these staples in history. This is why, despite all the atrocities that have happened, these are the things that stand the test of time. This is the explanation behind, because it's like we seek that wisdom. Like the smarter you are, kind of back to what I was saying, you become more agnostic, so to speak, because you're like, okay, so long as I can explain everything in my
Yeah.
life, then I don't really need to count on something else. But then when you
Mm.
kind of had that shift from 20s to 30, like you can go further one way or further the other way. And it's
True.
like something like the pandemic. I was curious to know, like, what did that push you more into church, or like even raising a child? Was that kind of a reason to be
Yeah.
like, hey, I need to have some kind of structure to make sure that this child is going in the right way?
Yeah. So, yes, big time. Like it pushed me closer to because our church, like all churches, kind of shut down,
Mhm,
and it was just like the Lord was just like, you got to keep the people together. Like it's just in my mind, just like
mhm,
keep the people together. So I just was like, I went to, of course, leadership. I was like, I kind of want to, because we used to have church like Wednesday night, Friday night, and then Sunday. So I was like,
mhm,
on Wednesday, I like on our church days, do you mind if I just send out a scripture? That way we're all still reading the same thing. We're all still in the same,
mhm.
you know what I'm saying? Like all still in the same mind at that time. So
Yeah,
so he was like, yeah, sure. Like if the Lord let it on, you're like, dude, like,
yeah,
which is weird. Like that's going back to that 27 range. Like it was just weird because I was feeling like this guy who's like looked out for me my whole life and been there for me my whole life. It was just like,
mhm,
man, you need to do this, this, this. But it's just like I said earlier, the stuff you love about a person, you kind of like, man, you need to change this. But then at
yeah,
the end of the day, it's like that's what you love most about this person. So
right.
but
But
it was just
it's like,
weird.
to that point, when you say this person needs to be doing this, this, and that, it's like all those ideas that you're coming with, you're the person that can do that
Right.
because you see those things and they're maybe preoccupied with so many other things you're not aware
And
of.
that's what it is. I think, and then yeah, so I like you said, I think that's a part of it. They just go to them, give them some vision to that
Mhm.
area.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think like, oh, they saw it because I saw it. Bro,
No.
they got so much other stuff going on. So I went to him. He was like,
Mhm,
yeah, like that's a really good idea. So like every Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So I'm having to go through scripture, like
mhm,
come up with like I would just do like a small paragraph just talking about what we're going to talk about in as you
mhm.
read this scripture or what you can pull from it.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that and bro, I've been doing that because we just maybe like last year we kind of
Mhm,
went back, but only on Sunday. So
mhm.
still every Wednesday and Friday I still send out. So bro, for like 2 years now I've been doing that. and so I'm having to dive in my word a little bit more. And so then yeah, so and then on the flip side, I kind of want our church to grow in a direction. And this is because of my daughter. You know, like I kind of wanted to like make sure we have some stuff going on. And so that's when you're saying like you looking at leadership, when it's like, no, you might be the very person to do that thing. So like recently, me and a couple of group of people at the church, we kind of got together and we were like, let's just do like a back to school thing for the kids, which we've never really done. So kind of like had like this cookout, gave them bags, had games and stuff like that. And so, bro, I was just like, everybody, you know, all the people that, oh, we love this so much, we love it. And it was just like, bro, that gave me so much excitement. So I'm kind of like, what more can we do? Because I feel like we've limited ourselves to, oh, you can't do that, you can't do it. And just like, what more can we do to really help our kids? And you know, just because they're gonna need Christ. Like we needed Christ. Like we like
even when you didn't think you needed Christ, you needed Christ.
Even when you didn't think you needed it. And then looking at your peers, bro, you just be like, wow, like it just you put like a thankfulness to me, because I'm just like, I could have easily hit that left turn when kind of God steered me in the right direction. I could have easily went left and I could have been where they are, or I could have been going through some of the same things they're going through. Because you know, in your teenage years, most of us, particularly boys, we're mostly all got like the same mindset in terms of like, man, you saw that girl, oh man, you saw that car, or you saw them shoes. So we kind of all have that same mindset type thing where it's just like the Lord kind of like pulled some of us towards him a little bit more, or pulled us in. Maybe academics might have put that rift there. And it's just like, you know, like, because it's like, now you lean towards academia and, you know, towards the Lord, whereas your friends went towards this way, and now they're dealing with all kind of stuff and situations. And then when you have conversation with them, it's like, bro, you're kind of still the same dude. Like you kind of, it's just like life has just handed you some tough situations. Not handed you, you kind of put yourself in some of them, but you're kind of like going through life, and it's just like, man, you're still a solid dude. It's just life got you in this situation. So yeah, man, that's what it definitely, it kind of helped me like grow spiritually and grow and just like helping the people of the church more. But more importantly, it was just like, man, we gotta get on the ball with having stuff for these kids to grow and develop that relationship with Christ. So yeah, man.
Well said. Man, this is an awesome conversation. It's funny because it's like, I think I spoke with someone else that's in the church, and he also has a family. I think he's got 3 boys. But as we were talking, it's like you kind of start tiptoeing a little bit. You're like, I don't know, we want to go there. But it's like, hey man, let's be open, but let's like you be open with tact, because it's like you just be out here like, oh, I'm getting butt naked. Like, look, everybody look. It's like, whoa, like
we don't need that. Yeah.
We don't need that. Nobody asked for that. Like, put your clothes back on, sir.
All right.
Like, but
not that type of party.
Right.
But yeah.
But it's like in being able to get more involved in the church now through leadership and like set up events like that, and just even digging into your word just to get that consistent thing you can give to people over the period of 2 years. Like, what did that do to you? Like, what did that do for you?
First of all, that's something that I like. Consistency is tough for me. Not that it's not hard, because that's the crazy part about consistency. It's not hard to be consistent, but it is a challenge. And so that's something that and it's something that I still to this day, like I have a small podcast that I started early this year. I did like 3 or 4 months straight good, and then it's just like fell off. So I've kind of been like on this quote unquote summer break. So I'm gonna come back soon, but it's just so consistency. So just seeing myself be consistent in that area has really just like, at least I'm consistent in this. At least every Wednesday, every Friday, I'm going to make sure I have that thing out. So whether it means putting aside 30 minutes to an hour to make sure I really hear from the Lord, but
Mhm.
also like really making sure that whatever he shows me, making sure it connects well. You're able to get that paragraph. And like I said,
Yeah.
it's not like I'm writing full sermons here. It's just a paragraph, to really like just spark their mind. And then just having people come and just be like, that helped me out so much. Or that made I was just like, bro, I'm melting. Cause I'm just like
Yeah.
sometimes it's just me, like you said, reading a story that I've read hundreds of times, just rereading it one more time. And it's just like wow, I didn't see
Right.
that. I've read
Right.
this so many times, I didn't see it. So of course you throw it out there and people like, I didn't even see it like that. I'm like, me either. Like the
Yeah.
Lord gave me that.
Right.
so
Right.
so yeah, man, it's been great. And just being consistent in that, it has helped me just be a little bit more consistent in certain areas. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And one point to that, it might help you is that even when it comes to like the podcasting thing and being consistent, I know that like batching content and then
yes.
spreading it out is a way to kind of help you in the sense of like, to your point, you can even like just doing a season to be like, okay, I know I can be consistent for this period of time. And then when
Yeah.
life happens, it's like, deal with life. And then like, yeah, take the summer break and just be like, yeah, I'm taking the summer break, and don't beat yourself up about it, because it's like you can only put your attention in so many things. And it's like so many people want it. What was the term? It's like you can have it all. It's like I think someone said it right. It's like, no, you can't have it all. Like unless we're very clear about what all is, like
Hmm.
you need to be um you need to be clear on what it is that you want and what it is that you're willing to give up to get that, because it's like regret and resentment are probably they're two of the very toxic emotions that people deal with, and that it's an unending cycle. Like if you're resentful from someone, or if you're regretful at the end of your life and you're just like, man, I wish I would have done this, and it's like maybe you could have done it one time and just carved out
You
that
did it. Yeah.
that
Hmm.
single time to be like, okay, I did it, and appreciate having done it there, instead of making this like, this is going to be my life's work forever. I'm going to be a singer, an artist, a parent, a this, a that, a da, 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 da. And it's like, you're just making this long laundry list of stuff that you'll never get to, because it's like, it's so overwhelming. But being able to like do like digging into the word initially when you were saying it, I was like, man, I'm over here just excited. I got the Bible app open and I just I just pinched and shared the verse of the day. But I was like, before I might have felt a way about it comparing myself to you, but
Oh yeah.
I was like,
Hmm.
no, I'm
Hmm.
not doing that anymore. I'm comparing
Yeah.
myself to who I was yesterday. It's like
Yeah.
I'm better today than I was yesterday. And it's not a way to let me off the hook, so to speak, to be lazy, but it's a way to tell me like, this is the progress that I'm making in my life, and this is my journey. Like I can see and I can appreciate what you're doing and be like, hey, good on you.
Yes.
But then like not doing that comparison piece, it's like it
Hmm.
takes away resentment. It takes away regret. Be like, oh man,
Yeah.
I wish I it's like it takes away like remorse, or it takes away a lot of the other things that maybe don't apply. And it kind of allows me to be like, oh, okay, like um yeah, like I'm gonna do this
Yeah.
podcast and then gonna go to the church service, maybe
Yeah.
do another podcast or two later in the day, and then just
Yeah.
make sure I've got clothes ready for the week, got food lined up. Just those simple things to where I'm
Yeah.
like,
Small
hey,
steps.
like just small steps. And
Yeah.
that's what I need to do for myself today, because it's like, am I gonna go to church and meet a wife, so to speak? Is like
Right.
maybe not, but like let's not jump
Think about
to
yeah.
like
Yeah.
let's not jump there, but like let's not repress it at the same time. It's like, okay, if you want to meet somebody, you need to be in the environment where people
Some
are.
people.
Like
Absolutely.
unless I'm just gonna jump online and set up a Tinder account, it's like, or send up like a
Yeah.
match.com profile. It's like I don't want to do that right now. Not saying there's anything against it, but like me personally, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, what do I want to be? I want to be around people. That's why
Yeah.
I'm talking with you. That's why I'm just giving myself some energy and like, okay, let's just do 1, 2, 3. Like
Yeah.
a friend of mine says ABC 1, 2, 3. And it's like
Yeah.
just setting up those staples that are consistent practices you can maintain and knowing like when to interchange that. It's like, okay, this worked for this season. The season's changing. Like something's got to change. So maybe we just put it down for a minute.
Yeah.
And then when it's like, oh, okay, we got the energy to
Back
do
it
it,
up.
it's like we do it
Yeah.
and then we keep going. And it's like, oh, like this guy's been doing it for 10 years. He's the mogul. It's like Joe
Yeah.
Rogan's out here making $100 million. It's like
That's what I'm
he's
trying to
been
get to. Yeah.
right. It's like that's what I'm trying to get to. But it's like, am I willing to put in that kind of work?
Right.
Am I able to do that to that level? Like there's nothing wrong with like a bit of, I don't know, what do you call it? A bit of envy. That might be one of
Yeah.
the seven deadly
Yeah.
sins, but it's like you just be honest. It's like that's what you're trying to get to. It's
Yeah.
like, why are you trying to get I want to make money. Like money
Yeah.
isn't terrible, but it's like
I
let
want
me
to
not
make money talking. Like
right.
it's that's like, can you imagine somebody cut you a check like at the end of this interview? It's just like, oh yeah, here's $2 million. Like, yeah, who wouldn't want that? But you're absolutely right. You got to put in the
Right.
time, the energy, the effort, the years of experience, the connections, the networking, the just all, even the scrutiny that comes with his,
Right.
like you have to put in all of that stuff, and then you like, yeah.
But I think like the thing where it's like to be honest about it, it's like one, admit, hey, I want what someone else has.
Yeah.
But it's like I think there's a distinction between admitting that you want something that someone else has, or like you would like to have that, versus like you deserve that. It's like whoa,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
that entitlement piece where you're like, I deserve to have what this. It's
Nah.
like, now
Yeah.
what have you done? Like you don't, I
Yeah.
forget who says it, like you don't deserve anything in life. Like the only things that are given to you are your life, that your parents birthed you
Mhm.
and somehow made it to where you're here, and the breath you're given every morning. Like
Yeah.
those are the only things afforded to you. Outside of that, like you don't really deserve anything. You earn things day by day, but
Yeah.
like
Deserving.
if
Yeah.
you think that you're deserving of something, it's like you're gonna be waiting a long time.
Mhm. Especially if you're waiting for people to give it to you. Because I'm sure
Yeah.
Joe Rogan, he's like, I deserve more than that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what? So,
Right.
but no, you're right, bro. So it's crazy, man.
Yeah. But let me not keep you too much longer. To ask you, well, let people know where they can find you online with
Okay.
everything that you've got going on, and
Yeah.
just checking out some of the things that you've done and what you got coming up.
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram, Faith FAITHNLC underscore on Instagram. Sometimes I post on there, sometimes I don't. But in that description, it has my like personal account. So you should be able to find me just going to that. And I post on my personal account a little bit more, just maybe some of the t-shirts that I did that day, or just some of the things I have going on. If you want to find me on YouTube, it's or the podcast that I got is Black Wealth Creator Podcast. So and the podcast pretty much is just talking about welcome to the Black Wealth Creator Podcast, where we help uplift the Black community through financial education. So that's really what it is all about, just helping uplift the Black community, which I am a part of. You're a part of.
Yeah.
And we're just helping, like, just small, and just what is money,
Mhm.
what's a credit card statement, how to read a credit card statement, what is retirement, when should you retire, start saving for retirement, how does this stuff add up, what's interest, just all the basics of money and finances, because I feel like a lot of people miss that part.
Yeah.
In life, money management type stuff. And I'm also on Facebook with Black Wealth Creator Podcast. I think Black Wealth Creator Podcast. I have to check that, but I'm also on Facebook.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's pretty much what I've got going on in terms of
Hang on, I
What
might have
else?
lost.
What else?
Oh, there you are. I think I lost you for a little bit. It
Oh
just
no.
my internet froze, but it was you were telling me about you're also on Facebook with the
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Black Wealth Creator.
Yeah. I'm also on Facebook with Black Wealth Creator Podcast.
Gotcha.
And I was just saying that, yeah, I got a board here listed out with all the topics that I got coming up. So I'm going to take your advice and try and do like just a bulk, just take out like 4 hours on a Saturday and do it all. And then just, but I think when I started back in January, I was doing 2 episodes a week and I should have been just sticking to one. I was just so excited, like, oh man, I got to do that. I should have just stuck to one. And then that content, because I did that for like, I want to say like 8 weeks. I would have had like 8 episodes that would have covered me this summer. But like you said, I'm not going to compare myself to Asher. But
well, it's funny you say that because like as we're recording this, I got to the point to where I was like, I'm just gonna do. When I started, I wasn't working at the time, so I was recording all throughout the week. But then finally going back to work full time is like, I'm just gonna record Saturdays and Sundays. And then I started out doing every other or like once a month. And by the time this is out, this will be 2023 March or April.
wow.
So it's like
Nice.
I've got excited in a period of like May to September. And I was like, hey, I've got this energy. I really want to put it into something. I want to like make a big push because I know when winter comes around, like I tend to slow down. So it's like starting a new job and allowing myself to like focus on the job and not try to be like at work trying to post or at work trying to edit. Like, let me not steal from the job that's paying me full time and like trying to work on this hobby. But it's like, let me be a good steward of both. So I was like, I can put some time in on the weekend and put my time in during the week. So that's where like just kind of giving you like the peek behind the scenes. So because like people they've been very complimentary and I appreciate it, but I'm trying not to let it go to my head. And even in explaining it, I'm like, I start thinking maybe I should stop over explaining myself because it's like you want to tell people what it is that you're doing, but sometimes it's like people will figure it out because like obviously you make reference to the time of the year that it is and someone's like, oh, that was this time or something like that. But like knowing that the few that I started at the beginning of the year, they're now coming out in the middle of the year. And I didn't intend it that way, but now as I actually listen to it, I'm like, oh, this is where I was 3 months ago or 4 months ago. And just seeing that like something has changed. And I'm like,
within you,
right. And I'm like, okay, like I'm doing something like unbeknownst to me, or like I'm doing the things which I said I wanted to do. But I think that's a good idea that you're doing. So whether you go to the once a week or twice a week, it's like I see it up. I see people that do like content every single day, but a lot of for them it's like that's their job. Like one guy, he's a MMA guy, and it's like he'll pre-record content and like batch it, but like they'll drop it like 2 or 3 a day, 2 or 3 in a day, like an hour or 4 hours or 3 hours apart. And that's initially like how I started doing like the Instagram post, but I got burnt out very quickly. And I was like, what am I posting? Like I'm sharing people's stories and people's information and people are getting mad. Like, you shouldn't post that for a podcast. And I'm like, you do realize that I got this from your public profile. Like anything you put on the internet is public, but I'm always like conscious to ask people like, hey, like this is what I'm going to do. Like, are you okay with that? But then so I guess sometimes people will kind of switch up because it's like you want to present in a certain way and then you want to be able to have fun in another way. But it's a funny life. But I guess since then I just stuck to posting Mondays and Tuesdays and kind of just like resharing stuff through stories. And like I tried TikTok for a little bit and I was like, I'm doing the most with this. Like I'm not just posting, but I'm on there for like hours. I'm like, this is taking too much of my time. So I deleted my account and I was like, I got a little bit of that jitter, like, I want to know. It's like, no, like you still got YouTube that has stories or
Mm-hmm.
shorts, and then you've got Instagram that
Instagram
has
stories.
reels.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
it's a copy and a copy of the same thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
you'll get it there, but just
Yeah. I heard
like,
I
yeah.
I get on there sometimes, but man, yeah, people like 2 3 hours. I'm like, what?
Oh, it's easy because it's
Yeah.
like some videos will be a couple seconds, some videos will be longer, and it's like people have put like good information out there, but then there's also
Mm-hmm.
like jokes and like you need
Yeah.
to have a mix of both.
Yeah. I like I said, I've spent some time on there, but bro, yeah. But yeah, man, I'm definitely gonna take that advice in terms of, but yeah, March 2023, I was like, so yeah, hopefully by that time they'll be like, I know that guy. So
Right, right. It's funny because initially, like, I think this is maybe the first time in a while I've tried to pinpoint it and make reference to like where it's gonna
Mhm.
fall from, like just lining everything up as I do it just one at a time. And I was like, no, let me stop trying to like
Yeah.
forecast and be clever
Hmm.
with it. If somebody has something that they have coming out now that they'll know about later, like they'll know about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. But
But
also like, happy birthday to me.
yeah,
My birthday's in March. So either it
awesome.
just passed or it passed 2 months ago or a month ago. Whenever it passed, happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday. Awesome. And with that, I'll ask you the last question. And from the first question I asked you, are you still who you said you were?
Yes, I'm still a child of God. I'm still a parent, husband, son, grandson. Like I'm still that family guy and still a businessman. And um, I guess I don't want to say most importantly, but an important part of I'm still growing. So
Mm,
I'll leave it at that.
love it. Thanks for the time, Alex.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
You too.